Yeah, I get it. You think crossovers suck. And for the most part, I agree with you. There aren't that many of them that I like. There are some, however, that are fun, that can change your opinion of what a crossover can be. This, for example, is the 2016 Mazda CX-3, the Zoom Zoom company. So they know a little bit about what to do to make you like the driving experience that they present before you. This is a crossover still though. Can it be fun at all? It's time to find out, because I'm betting the answer is yes. So Mazda calls this the crossover that drives like a Mazda. It's a Mazda, so it's always gonna drive like a Mazda. But what they mean by that, it's gonna have zoom zoom. And I joke, but that to me means the car is going to be enjoyable. It's going to have sporty driving dynamics. And this thing has that. We're here at the Hooniverse Highway Hooning Grounds like we like to come to when we have something fun to drive. And I've been flogging this thing throughout the day, and I've really been enjoying it. Now, on paper, this doesn't seem like a vehicle that should add up to fun. Under the hood, we've got a 2-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder engine, and it's making 146 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque, and it's paired with a 6-speed automatic gearbox. No CVT BS here. That doesn't sound like a lot of horsepower, and it's not, but it's plenty for this thing. It gets up and goes, and it gets out of its own way, and I'm in sport mode and it just holds the gears the whole time. It hasn't shifted yet. You can hear, that's because I'm whipping this thing through a turn and its front wheel drive system carries it through. This thing rotates a bit though. It feels like it wants to be rear wheel drive. It's not that, it's front wheel drive, but it feels fantastic. 215 series tires, you know, small tires, but I'm not even hearing them really squeal that much, which some of you, oh, you could have got more out of it. I'm not going slow here. This is a slow car fast, taken to a slightly elevated level. And I don't mean elevated in heightened awareness mode. I mean, it's a little bit higher than a Mazda 3. The suspension is appropriately stiff. The handling, even though it is an electronically assisted power steering system, Mazda is getting the tuning right on these. More and more companies are getting the tuning right, but this one feels properly weighted. There's no rubber bandness that I get with a lot of the other poorer electronic power steering systems. This thing is doing it right. And again, with the car in sport mode, it's holding gears, it's revving up to its 6,500, almost 7,000 RPM red line, and you keep it high up in the rev range, and this thing just wants to keep going. This is a fun car. This is a lifted Miata with a roof. Besides being fun, it's also fun to look at. This is part of the Kodo design language, so it's the newer, more aggressive Mazda. Gone are the smiley face happy times, but the happy times smiley face happen in the cabin. On the outside, you've got those aggressive angular eye headlamps. You've got the real sporty lower chin. You've got a mean face up. This thing's mean mugging all the other cars on the road. I love this thing. I expected to love it. Now, there are some things I would like to change. One of those is the fact that we can't get this with a manual gearbox here in the States. I do believe they offer it in Japan. I could be wrong, but I thought I heard that the Japanese market version of this car gets the manual gearbox. The fact that we don't is a damn shame. The 6-speed does a good job. It has paddles, so you can shift it yourself, and it holds gears, like I said, in sport mode, but this car is crying out for a manual. The fact that you can get it in a CX-5, but you can't get it in a CX-3, it's kind of lame. Mazda, let's fix that. And most of the times you'd be like, well, the take rate's gonna be so low, but a person who buys a Mazda enjoys driving, so they would enjoy the manual gearbox. I bet they're one of the few brands that their take rate for manuals is higher than the average brand. There's another area where the CX-3 excels, and that's in the way it's priced. The base MSRP is just under $20,000. This fully loaded example is $28,000. That's awesome. Under $30,000, fun car, and this has bells and whistles that, to be honest, I wouldn't even want some of the stuff this has. The heads-up display is just okay. It's kind of gimmicky. It's nothing like the one that GM offers in, the Camaro and the Corvette. This one's just okay. It's nice though to have heated seats and heated mirrors. The little rotary control switch down here for the nav and the music and all that stuff is fine. This has lane departure warning. I don't need that. This has radar cruise control, which is good if you're in the city or stop and go traffic on your commute. Personally, I don't really need that. So I could get the price of this down much lower. But this is the Grand Touring. It's fully loaded. It's got 18-inch wheels. It's got this two-tone, actually three-tone seating, which actually looks pretty killer. The interior is nicely done. Now, this is a very compact crossover. There is pretty much no legroom in the back seat. It's actually hard for me to get a baby seat back there without me moving my seat up. Yeah, baby seat, that's right. I do baby seat shit now. I've got a stroller in the back of the car right now, and it's taking up pretty much all of the rear cargo space. So there's not a lot of room here. This is the driver's compact crossover. Subcompact, probably. And it's a blast, and I don't say this a lot when I review these cars because personally I like to buy older cars. You know, I like my truck, I like my wagon, I like muscle cars, I like old stuff. I do like new cars too, I just most of the time wouldn't find myself spending money on this. This car I would buy. If I were in the market, I would happily daily drive one of these things. It is a little short on room, but I can get a baby seat back there, so, you know, despite that sacrifice, move my seat up a little bit when my baby girl is riding right there, and she'll have a smile on her face too, going, go faster, Dada. And I will. Here we go. Guys, here we go. All right, it's time. It's time to drive it. It's Mazda. It's time to drive Mazda. No one's coming. No one's coming. All right. Yippee. Here we go. Make sure I got no buggers. Got no buggers. If you could be sponsored by a swear, we would be sponsored by Swear. If you don't believe me, go listen to the podcast, which you should be doing anyway. I mean, I don't give a shit. You don't know the speed limits on this road. You know it ain't how fast I'm going. I'm doing like 70 on this back road, and it's not even hard to do those speeds. I like that. It just feels like it wants to rotate. I wish this had a rear-wheel drive version, which like, that version probably not that many people would buy. But if they ever decide to make a CX-3 GT or some shit like that, sign me up. Let's go spec racing with CX-3s. Now that would be a fun series. Fully caged, sitting a little lower. Speaking of seating, the seat's super comfy. My only negative of this car is that they don't offer it with a manual gearbox. And that's just me being the, 1%er enthusiast crowd who's like, well, it's gotta have a manual. This automatic's doing a pretty darn good job. It's hard to find fault with this. Okay, the lack of room in the back. But again, you know what you're buying. It's small.